go. Exciting. So welcome everyone to Witch Bitch, where we talk the real tea. And today we have Tracy on again. Oh, so exciting. And we are recording our interview today, which I actually think feels a little bit more like private. And then for us to like create the space and then put it online, which we don't really get to do very often, because it's usually always live. So yes, it just feels like a more serene, private space right now. So I'm loving the energy. Today's topic of conversation, at least where we're going to start off, is about awakening the inner goddess, because last time Tracy was on the show, she already talked about her awakening story. So we've done that. Now we're on to something else. And yeah, so I think I would just like to open up, this topic of awakening our inner goddess, just to either one of you about how you see the inner goddess. I made a post the other day on our page about the inner goddess, the difference between the divine feminine and the inner goddess, and like how they're different but very similar. And yeah, so just like, how do you feel about the inner goddess, Tracy? What's your take on her?
Yeah, I think it's she's brave and she's powerful, and she's been squashed down for a really long time, because we are taught or oppressed to not allow our inner goddess out, or if it can be seen as over sexy or over, like it can be taken to the extreme. And then it's, there's quite a distorted look on it. So it's around really coming into what it is for you as well. It's for me, it's been quite a journey, and still obviously on the journey, but inner goddess, she's sassy, she's sexy, she's powerful, she has that nurturing side of her, and a lot of flow and ease as well. But then she can be a lioness when she wants to be. She's got all of the things coming into balance. So it's kind of the good description, I think.
Yeah,
just like a little one.
Yeah. How do you feel, Mum?
Yeah, like that post you put up, Juliet, really got me thinking about it. And I think my inner goddess was very influenced early on, because she was there naturally. Like, I think we're born with our inner goddess intact. And then as we grow up, she learns how to interact with the world and with us, like our inner dialogue and that sort of thing, like the judgments that we make, the way we feel about ourselves. She's influenced by all of that. And growing up, I feel like I had a very strong connection to her. But as the years went on, and the oppression, like that, what you were talking about, Tracy, that, the layers of judgment and the layers of you should be this way, not this way, all of that stuff.
That patriarchal energy, eh?
Yeah. And and these lessons that we learn from other women on how to be, like, and what's acceptable in society and all that stuff. I lost a lot of connection to her. Maybe I was blocking it because that feeling of contradiction between what I was feeling from her and what the world was telling me was too uncomfortable.
Yeah. And
so rather than kind of like play in that realm with her, I was like, oh no, I can't balance out, or I can't reconcile this feeling of uncomfortableness that I was feeling. But yeah, as I've gotten older and I've expanded my knowledge and expanded my balance and myself and my embodiments, and I've explored myself more, feels safer to come out now. Like, it's that feeling of uncomfortableness is dissipated, and I feel fierce. Like, I feel like so protective of her, and I feel connected, and I'm so happy that she's there, that she didn't disappear altogether. And I feel playful about it, like I'm rediscovering her and the feelings that go along with that. And I think as you get older too, as a woman, you get braver, and you're like, the fucks that you give get less and less, you know. And yeah, and so yeah, I feel like I'm coming into that goddess and more comfortable with her. And her voice is a lot louder now too, so I'm listening to her and enjoying her. Yeah.
Yeah. So my take, I resonate so strongly with both of what you're saying, because my take on her is really that she's just a human, but like that space between human and goddess. Like, she's still got an ego, she still holds wounds, and she's still part of my inner child. Because like how I forgot which one of you said, like, we're born with the inner goddess. I really believe that. So it's like takes on the wounds that we take on growing up. I remember, and mum, you know this, like when I was quite young, I was very in touch with my inner goddess, and I did not give any fucks about what anyone thought. I just did what I wanted to do. And then growing up and going through change and going through school, wounds began to occur and traumatic experiences began to occur, and slowly that connection, I don't even want to say connection, because I still feel strongly connected to her, but she's definitely not where she was before. Like, she's beaten down, and yeah, it's like there's still like this huge sensitivity within me personally with my inner goddess, because I'm a very sensitive person. So she doesn't shine as much as she used to by choice, not because, you know, I'm not saying that it can't go back to that. We are getting there slowly. I am opening up my shell a little bit more, but it's still very much like, yeah, she just seems like between the realm of God, goddess, divine feminine, but still human, like the human version of the divine feminine for me. And a part of women in particular that needs to be seen more and like let out more. And like there's this wildness when we're in touch with our inner goddess, like this real wild primal energy that is missing from a lot of like femininity. I think like it's very easy for guys to get in touch with their primal, I think, and for women it's not so easy, because there's all these programs of, no, you have to look like this, or no, you have to be kind, or you have to be you know, polite,
Nice.
or nice. You know, like you can't just get angry and scream at the top of your lungs at someone, you know. Like but sometimes it's, I mean, if someone is, when you need to let that out at someone, then I think it depends on the situation. But if it's appropriate to release that primal energy and sometimes yell and scream, as long as it's not like, you know, projecting, but just letting it out and being like, I'm angry. So yeah, that's how I see my personal inner goddess, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking your authentic truth, eh? You know, and I think, like, I see so many women that have throat issues, her thyroid, throat, or you know, jaw, all that, because there's so much oppression and there's so much that's been shoved down, or you know, all this is linked also to your base chakra and you know, your sacral chakra. So there's been a lot of oppression in there as well, and not being, you know, like, so I think society fears the goddess in us because we're actually so powerful. There's
And
so much,
yes.
you know, when we're in flow, when we're connected to the consciousness and things are easy, we create miracles. So of course society wants to shut us down, particularly the patriarchal, which is still struggling to trying to keep control. And yeah, I know we've got the, you know, the divine feminine coming in, but then the inner goddess has to be part of that that uprising, and not being afraid to say, fuck you, look at me. This is, speak my truth.
Well, what I really just received something, because the patriarchal energy is so different from the matriarchal, right? It's like very, very different. Like, and I think sometimes to take on the patriarchy, we need to bring out the masculine in ourselves. It needs to be like kill fire. What is it? Kill fire with fire? No.
Fight fire with fire.
Fight fire with fire. You know, we need to bring out the masculine that's like within us, and that's, you do that through the inner goddess, because the divine feminine is the divine feminine. Like, yeah, it still gets angry, it still gets very much fired up, but also bringing that masculine energy out in our standing up for ourselves, and in like, the masculine energy is still so powerful, and I think it can, when we embody our divine feminine, that divine masculine is there to help fight us, to help us with fighting the battle of the matrix, of, you know, against the patriarchy. Yeah,
I love the way you put that, Juliet.
yeah.
Battle of the matrix.
The battle of the matrix.
The red pill or the blue pill?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what you girls are saying resonates deeply, and I think the inner goddess is like the connection. It's, you know, like you were saying, Juliet, there's us, then there's it feels like there's us, there's the goddess, and there's the divine feminine. She's like the connector between us and the feminine, and it's like she's the conduit that everything passes through. And for me, what you were saying, Tracy, about the patriarchy and you know, how we've been kind of taught to really curb that inner goddess in us, like to keep it under control, you know, because of the fear that they have of her power. We as women are the creators. We create life in our womb. We are the ones that are the ultimate creators in the universe, in the world. And so that creator energy, when we can harness that, when we are fully aware of it, and when we're within our power of that creator energy, I can totally understand how that's scary, how that can be a scary thing to the other that doesn't fully understand it. But what I think's going on now, I think the masculine is starting to realize his role, because he has a very, very important role in that creator energy. Because without him, without the masculine, we can't create life. There's a role there for the masculine. But the masculine, because of the fear, has been very controlling. And I think what the divine feminine is doing now through help from the goddess is kind of like teaching, or not even teaching, maybe showing the masculine that we can be trusted, and there's the fear is unfounded, and trying to get that balance and that working relationship and that creative relationship going in such a way that, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's there yet. I'm just saying the beginnings, I can see the beginnings of it starting. And the goddess is part of that. Like, she holds a huge role in presenting the wildness of the feminine to the masculine in a way that's intriguing, in an inviting way that is like, don't be afraid, don't be scared, just come over and check me out, and let's discover this energy together. Let's play with it. Let's create something together that's beautiful and that can benefit everyone.
Yeah.
Not just squash you. Because I think that's why the fear is there. They think, oh, she's so big and bright and beautiful and so, in your face, gorgeous, that I'm not going to be able to control myself. I'm not going to be able to participate. I'm going to be overwhelmed. I'm going to be, she's going to just be too big and uncontrollable. And so that fear has come in and tried to encapsulate her. That's the feeling that I'm getting anyway from what's happening at the moment.
Well, the different frequencies of masculine. Because the higher frequency doesn't have that.
No fear.
You're stepping through and out of the lower density oppression type stuff and up into the giving, because the masculine's role is the doing. It's the seed, and the woman is the receiver. She's she's the universe.
Yes.
Universe inside her. So
I love that.
You get to birth new worlds. Every time you have a child, you're creating a whole new world.
Oh, yeah.
That's the universe going, yes, Tracy. You got it, girl.
Yeah, I think it's such like a balance that is hard to find. Like, it's really hard to find balance between masculine and feminine in your internal world, in your external world, in relationships, and in everything. It's like, I feel like it's such a particular degree. It's like adding a little weight there and adding a little weight there, and then that one goes down. It's like, oh, let's add a little weight there. And then it's like trying to find that balance where they both just levitate each other and fly together off the ground. It's just like, it's very sometimes particular. And at least for me, as I'm like learning and growing and learning about my feminine, because I've grown up being quite, throughout high school and stuff, definitely more in my masculine, like very easily in my masculine energy, not in confrontational ways. I can't do confrontation, but in many ways I'm very masculine. And then it's been the past few years like really trying to listen and embody my feminine, and my inner goddess has been coming out a lot more, especially while I've been up here. It's been like a huge thing that's come up for me, which is why I chose it as this topic today, because of just like how prominent it is. And I think it will really, I just think if we all of us women embodied our inner goddess, like the world would be a different place. Like, it would seriously be like I don't even know. It would be crazy. It would be, it would be, it would be an explosion of creation of new worlds everywhere, but not just with like babies, like just with in every way. Yeah.
There'd be a lot done, wouldn't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the possibilities that would be on the table, you know, there'd be like so much choice and possibilities out there to just go, okay, I want to try that today. I want to try that tomorrow.
And I think the more you practice or the more you connect into your inner goddess, the less you wobble on that tipping point. Or
Yeah.
it can fall off. It's not as far.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes some of us have had to climb really freaking high to get there because we've felt so oppressed. And others, it's still, you know, like a windy journey or a prickly journey or whatever. But the more you practice being in that space, even if it's just finding the tiniest little glimpse, the getting back up and starting again is easier.
Yeah, so true.
And then if you can find sisters to support you that hold you and love you and want you to grow and nourish you, not ones that tear you down, that are still being poisoned, you know, like there's a lot of, sometimes I've seen sometimes a lot of poison energy coming from those who are still running the old programming. Yeah. And so, yeah, we got to rise each other up.
Yeah.
Support.
Yeah.
I have, oh, sorry, Mummy.
You go.
I was just going to speak to an example of this in my life, about lifting each other up, because, so at the place that I live in, there's volleyball games going on basically all day, every day. Everyone is obsessed with volleyball at this place. Everyone is obsessed. Like it just is nonstop. And it's been going on for months too. And people are actually getting really good. Like I've never really watched a professional volleyball game, but it's like, imagine professional volleyball if it was a bunch of hippies who were like really supportive of one another. And it was just like still really good players, but there's never like, you know, much competitiveness really, unless it's two really, really good teams. That's basically the only time where it's really competitive. Otherwise, it's just people having fun. But I'm quite new to this game, and everyone else has kind of been playing for quite some time, and I'm quite new, and so it can become a lot of pressure when you're on the team and you're very clearly not up to the level of your teammates. And then you win a game, and then you win another game, and you like hit the ball maybe twice in both games, and you've won. But everyone, so I really thought that me being in that space of volleyball would bring out my masculine, but really it didn't, because I had to bring out my feminine in this game, and that was me embodying my feminine through this whole thing of like, I was dressed in a skirt and like a very feminine like top. I don't know how else. It was a very feminine outfit. Both times it was both very feminine, and I was like really just feeling this goddess of like, we're gonna win, I'm gonna be so good, like I'm gonna not prove everyone wrong, because no one was like going against me, but I'm gonna show everyone how good at volleyball I am. And within like 2 games I had improved so much. Like I was keeping up with my team, and I remember there was this one moment where I was like serving the ball, which is one of the more scarier roles to play, because everyone is watching you. Like your team is watching you, the other team is watching you, all the people on the sideline, because there's also like maybe 20 people watching the games. So then you also have 20 people on the sidelines watching you. And then one of the main like best volleyball players who was watching on the sideline, he brought this higher element of masculine through, and he was like, who's the best volleyball player in the world? And I went, I am. And then I served, and it was so good. I like served the ball amazing, and I really do think it was because of that support from the masculine energy, which is so strong in these games. Like, I would say 80% of the people who play are men, but they're so supportive of not just women, but of anyone who's new, anyone who doesn't know how to play, which in my experience is quite a beautiful, not uncommon thing, but just something it's really beautiful to witness, because especially in a competitive sense, I feel like the masculine energy can be quite self-contained, focused, and just wanting to win and just wanting to get better, and they're not really placing that support on other people. But it's such a huge focus on in these games. But then there's also this other side where it's like, but everyone's actually really good, and there is that fun competitiveness. It's like, I don't know, just brings this balance that we were talking about, and the support of the feminine too within me and within a lot of the women, because much of the women who play the games are also very new to the game as well. So it's like anytime that there's a new person, especially when it's a girl, it's like all this support from the men to like play, and so happy that they're there on the team. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful energy. So I wanted to share that little story of my life.
Beautiful. That sounds amazing. And yeah, we need more of that.
Yeah, we so do. And the
Mhm.
fact that what that strategy, well, it's probably not even a strategy, it's just happening. But what I can see from that happening is that all the new people that come in are going to be encouraged to want to stay to play. Because, you know, if you enter into a sport and that competitiveness is really prominent, and you're not a great player at first, because we're not, you know, when something's new, some people don't pick it up straight away. You need time to really get into it. And with a competitive environment where it's like do or die, oh, you've got to be great, people can get discouraged very quickly, and they're like, oh, I'm no good, I'm not going to go back, it's too pressurized. But when you have that supportive network of people who are really, really good, you think to yourself, oh, well, you know, it's fun to start with, and I'm getting the support, you know, I'm getting the pats on the back, and I'm getting like the hugs and the kisses and you did really well, you know. Then when you feel that support, you're more likely to come back and want to keep going. And so that sport and the people who are playing the sport benefits from that, you know, that attitude and that kind of inclusiveness. So I think we need some more of that sprinkled in every aspect of life, you know, because that's
and you know, talking about in a goddess, I would never have taken it around to a sporting event.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, can come
But
in.
how great would the goddess be in sport if there was more of her there?
Oh,
Like, think about that. More of that feminine goddess energy, that fire that she brings to any equation. It's, you know, because sport is such a masculine, or in my experience, it is like, I remember at school being never chosen first for any sport because I wasn't coordinated. Or, you know, like Spence, he teases me all the time because I run like a duck. I run like a duck, and he's like, Claude, don't do that. Don't run like that, you know. And it's like, well, that's how I run. I can't change that. It's my body and the way it moves. But yeah, like I never got chosen first for sport. But maybe if my goddess had been more pronounced or more encouraged, I wouldn't have cared. And I would have just gone, I'm here, I'm going to have fun, and I don't care if you're competitive. I'm just going to be part of it and have some fun with it. Because she brings that spice, doesn't she? She brings that fun spice to things. It's like you need a little bit of that fire to keep going and to keep, yeah.
And
So
imagine,
yeah, I love that.
Imagine if we were encouraged, and we encouraged the next generations and help the sisters to stay more on their point rather than knocking them off all the time. And yeah, I think about that. I've got a granddaughter. She's 9, so it's a it's a big time for her. And yeah, I see the way. I think because a lot of society is really focused on the television and or the internet and what's happening in what they think is the real life and what they're seeing. So yeah, if raising your inner goddess was more mainstream, imagine how powerful we would all be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think more of these conversations, in private moments between fathers and daughters and mothers and sons,
Oh, absolutely, because the men have to know how to hold us. As we have to know how to hold them in their in their God selves. And
yeah,
still in that safe.
Yeah, it's really it's really funny when you look at like in Rome and you see all the statues and all the churches and all the like I don't know what else to like all the history there. It's so surrounded around the masculine, like Jesus, God, and then also all the god, like the Roman gods. I mean, there was definitely female Roman gods, yes, but it's just like so masculine based. Basically, the only feminine that they really focus on is like Mother Mary or like I think there was one of I'd forgot who else, but just like religious figures, and the way that they're portrayed is as covered with the scarves and like hiding their faces and just like being a mother, and nothing taking away from being a mother, but there's more to women than that, and that's really only where it's focused on, and that's still in modern day Rome, like all of the history there. And we think, oh yeah, it's not that big of a deal because it's not here, and it was thousands and thousands of years ago. Like, why does it matter? It's like because it's still standing in our world today of this huge focus around. It's not about the statues, it's not about all that, but it's about the fact that that's where the focus is still placed so much. And it's not just in Rome, it's like a symbol for everywhere of like that the feminine is really only a mother. And it's like, no, it's so much deeper than that. Yeah. And I think once we realize that, and that we realize that by awakening and embodying our inner goddess, but I think, and also I think it happens by the men awakening their own inner God. Yeah. So it's like both sides have to do it. It's not just the goddess. Also, guys out there watching, you have to do it too. Yeah.
Yeah, so it ends up being a communication between the inner God and the inner goddess coming together and creating something together.
And would you say that that is really being in your higher self, in tune with that, you know, like that goddess energy and that God energy is that frequency of being in that space of your higher self, but in an earthly way, in a embodied, installed, obviously, we're still going to do all the practical stuff, you know, the domestic goddess, which I haven't mastered. No, I'm not sure that I ever will or want to.
I'm with you on that one, Tracy.
Yeah, no, I was somewhere else when that was being handed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think actually, yeah, when I was journaling about my inner goddess, I realized that for me, at least in this moment in life, inner goddess is my higher self. It's the highest version that I feel I need to be right now. Like I put a lot of pressure for me to be the highest version of the highest self, but really when you like, there's so much that the highest self can give us, and we always want to strive towards embodying and being in touch with our higher self. But there's moments where on earth it just doesn't compute, you know, where you just can't do that sometimes, like, because it's such a dense world and people trigger you and money is a thing, and you know, like traumas and stuff, and like in the moment of experiencing all this, I think for me, being my inner goddess and embodying my inner goddess and connecting with my inner goddess in the moment is my way of being like acting in the highest way, because it brings an earthly element. If I'm just trying always to connect to the highest being, the highest I can be, there's a long gap between that. And when I'm like really angry about something and I talk to my highest self, and my highest self is basically just telling me, don't be angry. It's like, well, I'm trying, you know, like you don't, like, I honestly, that for me personally, that's kind of what happens sometimes. And it's like, I'm trying not to be angry, but I am angry. And I think if I, instead of look towards, oh, let's go to the highest version, like, let's go to the middle ground here and still be connected and still be angry. And yeah.
Well, you've got to have one foot in this, on this earthly plane.
Yeah, exactly.
In your goddess self, you know, in your higher self. So there's that balance.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's spiritual bypassing, I feel. If you're not recognizing that you actually live in the 3D world, if you're not recognizing that, that's an element of spiritual bypassing. You're kind of going, well, I'm just going to connect to my higher self and ignore the rest. Like you were saying, Juliet, if you're feeling anger, that's energy. Our feelings are just energy, and it's created through the density of the 3D experience. And that energy rises up in our body and creates a feeling. And so for that energy, that angry energy, if you don't recognize it and you don't allow it to express itself, it gets trapped in the body, and then it can manifest in other ways like disease and things like that. So I think if your higher self is going, oh, you shouldn't be angry, don't be angry, maybe that's your higher self saying to you, you need to transmute that energy, you need to get it out, you need to let it pass through you. And if that means feeling it, great. And then going and doing a screaming exercise, or punch a punching bag, or get a sword and start you know, poking it into the ground or into a tree. Oh no, not a tree, but you know what I'm saying, like getting it out of you. And then that energy is released, and then you can get to the other side of it, you know, because we can't ignore it. Like if we do create, that energy doesn't go away, it just gets trapped in your body. So it's something that needs to be addressed, and it needs your attention. Maybe not to live there, don't live there, but.
And I think the inner goddess is really good at helping us to address those things. You know?
Yeah.
When we're on that path, then there's more of a strength and a solidity for us to go to hold ourselves as well. You know, I know for a long time in earlier parts of my journey, I was afraid to step out and be seen and let stuff come up at times. You know, some things were easy to come up and other things got a little stuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then finding ways of being kinder to myself. Yeah, absolutely. In my goddess self, and giving myself permission, because I don't think, I think I heard it a lot, but you actually have to really dive in and give yourself permission on all levels and dimensions, you know, not just on this human existence, but yeah, to be the best version of yourself, you've got to look at stuff and peel back the layers and invite that part of you to help you, to stand with you, and
yeah, and be willing to get messy. Like, it's all
yeah,
messy.
she's not always beautiful and flowy. Sometimes the inner goddess is a little bit messy.
Yeah.
But yeah, but always juicy.
Yeah, that I found that part of getting in touch with my goddess and doing this kind of work, one of the most confronting was the mess of it, like how messy it is. Because I left school, I went to a convent school and we wore uniform and it was very strict, very religious and strict. And then I went out into the world and I went into a job which was also very strict, and I had to wear a uniform. I was working for Qantas for a long time, and that's a corporate environment. And so I was very much in this space of containment and control, because of course, being on an aircraft, safety was paramount. And so I had to learn how to behave in an environment that was safe. So everything was around safety and be safe, and it's for your own good, and you know, that's all control. And so all my young life and adult life was all about being contained and being not messy.
How does it feel to be messy?
It shocked me. It shocked me to, like, it was one of the hardest parts to get used to and to accept that this stuff is messy and that it's okay to be messy. And, you know, it's part of it. It's necessary. And yeah, so for me, the goddess, getting that messy side of the goddess was very difficult to come to terms with, because I wasn't used to it. I was always taught less mess. But it's fine now. Like, not always, because apparently, like, when something new happens and it's messy again, and I have to, like, I'm in a new environment now for work, and it's messy. It's messy there. So, you know, and I'm having to kind of like, okay, it's messy. That's okay. It's fine. And kind of talk to myself and be, like you were saying, Tracy, be there for myself in that mess. It's okay, Claudia. You know, it's messy. It's okay. It's going to be all right. Nothing bad is going to happen to you because it's messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes, I may have mentioned this last time, like sometimes I call upon the parts of myself that have already done what it is that I need to do, you know, like
that's a good idea. Calling
on my goddess self to come and be with me while I'm working through this problem. I had a situation where I was I needed to figure out how much something was going to cost that I was passing on to someone else. And I got like literally to the door of this place and I still hadn't worked it out. It was almost like it was just a confusing mess in my head. And I literally said, all right, the part of me that's already done this like a week ahead, come and be with me now, come and sit with me and help me figure this out. And it happened. And I do that all the time with my, all different parts of myself. But if you're struggling with your inner goddess, that's a really great way to. And it might be that you can't see her there in a week's time, but it's like the inner goddess in me that's already 5 years ahead that knows what I'm about to do in the next 5 years. Come and be with me and show me what's the next step that I have to take. How do I open my heart? Come and be with me. And it's a really good place to, as I'm going into my sleep, I ask for those things too sometimes.
Yeah, I love that. That is such a good tip, because we have access. We really do have access to all of that, because it's all there. It's always been there and it will always be there, because energy doesn't end. And to be able to access it and just go, okay, I need this part of me now to help me get through it, or to see, or whatever. That's like a little mental ding, 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 ding.
And I've done that in my workshops, in my family constellation workshops. I had someone who was really triggered. So I brought in a representative for the part of her that had already moved through this. To come and stand with her, and she just completely relaxed. It was so beautiful, just to have that, that part of her there, and then she was able to see what was happening, because otherwise she was like it was a bit overwhelming. So yeah, and anytime, you can do it anytime.
Yeah.
Because we think, oh, you can go back in time, you can look at that, but actually there's so much more that we can take from the future as well.
Oh, love it. Love it. I think we're at an hour now. Just about. Is there anything anybody wants to say before we go? Do you have anything else you want to say, Trace?
Yeah, be tender, be kind, love yourself, like the inner goddess on the inside and the outside. Start to nourish yourself, and enjoy the job, I was going to say the drive, but enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really important to remember, is to enjoy yourself as you go.
I also appreciate the reminder for the outside goddess too, because our body's also a goddess. So. But I actually had a question, Tracy, and I actually think this might be, oh God, ow, my tailbone is numb. Sorry. I would love to ask every guest this at the end of our talk. So Mum and I do a second show every week, or we're just going to start it back up again, where we talk about ancient mysteries and conspiracies, or any sort of mystical mystery event or something to look into. So my question to you is, do you have anything that you know about, a topic that you know about that you would like me to look into and share with the world and share on one of these episodes? Or do you have one that you have heard about and want to know? And if not, that's totally fine, but just realized, oh, maybe asking our guests could be a cool thing.
Wow, you've tweaked my interest.
We've done, to give you some examples, right? We've done ones about Atlantis, about like the Easter Island statues and like the mystery behind them. We've done ones about the Dead Sea Scrolls. So like all different kinds of mysteries. And I think we did one about the moon.
We
Yeah,
did
we've done. Oh yeah.
I don't think we did the moon, but we did the mysterious island that keeps disappearing.
Oh yeah.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, about an island that disappears. So like, yeah, if you don't think of any now, that's fine, but just thought I would hand the question out.
So I was just curious. So like in New Zealand, before Maori, before the Moriori, there were the Waiate people, and there was like they called them like the redhead giants. It was different races, yeah,
Okay.
way
Yeah.
before what we know now. And what about in Australia? Was there, who was there? I mean, I know the Aboriginals have been around for thousands and thousands of years. But were there other cultures? Were there other races here with them?
I've heard the Pleiades.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what they were called to the Aboriginals at that time though, but I know now it's seen as, yeah, the Aboriginals say the Pleiades. We were talking to a lady about it, remember, Mum?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in New Zealand we have the Seven Sisters, which are the stars, and that's the Pleiades are those Seven Sisters as well, hey? Well, that's what they often refer to.
Yeah.
So there is that connection, and if you go to Egypt, that's the same there as well. There's
Yeah.
a connection. In fact, I think it's probably around most of it. So that would be interesting to see the different connections between the different cultures that have experienced the Pleiades.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
Good
it.
idea. Good idea. I love that. Okay, well, I feel complete.
Me too. Thank you,
Yes,
lovely.
thank you.
Alrighty, amazing.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Tracy, for coming on
everyone.
and speaking with us today. We really appreciate it, and for the pearls of wisdom that you always impart with us.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. You guys have, yeah, great, juicy conversations. Yeah, we need more of this in the world. So thank you for what you're doing, you know, bringing it out there and, yeah,
Totally.
letting your lights shine.
All right, till next time. We love you all. Thank you for being here with us. And Tracy, we'll have you on again because you're our beautiful regular guest.
Not a regular.
You agree? Yeah.
That'd be lovely. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, beautiful. See you guys.
Ciao.
Bye, everyone.